Right boys, what is going on? Welcome everybody back to another Premier League FIFA 22 starter squad tier list. We've looked at strikers, wingers, cams, and now we are moving on to centre mids, box to box centre mids if you will. And once again, I just would like to clarify, obviously we're going to rank them in a cheap tier, a good tier, and an elite tier. Now the cheap tier doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but then not as good as the ones in a good tier, and also could be nice cheaper options to look at for your FIFA 22 Ultimate Team starter team. Now good tier is obviously players that are better than the ones in a cheap tier, but not quite elite, and then elite is the very select 1, 2, or 3 players that are the best possible Prem centre mids in this in a centre mid position, I should say. Boys, if you are new, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more FIFA 22 content. We're going to do some player reviews, formation guides, objective guides, all of that good stuff. And as I said, today we're going to be focusing on centre mids from the Premier League. We are going to work on CDMs next as well. We're going to try to get all of them done from the top 5 leagues. So if this does sound like a channel you guys would like, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Let's get started, boys. Starting off for the cheap tier, the first player in the cheap tier is going to be Gundogan. Now, if we are going off real life, he is, I wouldn't quite say elite, but he'll definitely make the good tier if we're going off of real life. But sadly, he's only got 65 pace. If he had like 70, 75 pace, he'd be actually really, really good. But pace is going to be very important this year. You've got centre backs that have got 82 to 85 pace, and how do you, counter fast centre backs? Fast attackers. And a 65 pace Gundogan will not be able to, do that job nowhere near as well as one of the faster boys. And once, if someone does have around 65 to 68, 69 pace, it's not all bad. You just have to have really, really good defensive stats. Gundogan is a weird one. Obviously, once he is a centre mid, he has some attacking stuff about him as well. But I feel like he's not going to be a card that you're going to want to, keep hold on to. And he's definitely going to be one of the cheaper options. He'll probably be 10, 15,000 coins maximum. But I feel like that 65 pace really does let him down quite a lot. So for that reason only, lads, he does make that cheap tier. Next up, boys, we are going to go for someone else who's really similar. Really good in real life, but shafted in FIFA, and that is Thiago. He's actually gotten a +1 upgrade, which is very interesting. I didn't think he had a great season, but his pace has been butchered. I believe he got a -6 pace, and he is now sitting at 62 pace, lads. Similar to Gundogan, his stats, other than the pace, are better than Gundogan's, but that 62 pace really does let him down. You do have to keep in mind, though, he does have that 5-star skill moves, so Thiago, being 5-star, 3-star, you can kind of counter the pace a little bit with the skill moves, but even if you do go for a shadow, it will only give him +10 pace, putting him to 72, and that is just not enough in my opinion. Very unfortunate, but if this Thiago card had 70 plus pace, he would 100% be in the good, maybe even pushing the elite tier, but sadly, EA is shafting pace on a select amount of players this year. Next up, boys, it is going to be the Ox. Now, obviously it's Oxlade-Chamberlain or Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, but it didn't fit on the FIFA card, so his FIFA card name is just the Ox, which is what we've written down. Now, he is a definition of a cheap beast, whereas Thiago and Gundogan were obviously high rated. 85 and 86 was what people like to call fodder, whereas Ox and the next player we're about to get done, they're actually, pretty low rated, but they've got good stats, so they're going to be really nice for cheap starter teams, and like I said, the Ox is one of them. If you look at his stats, he is very well rounded. I believe he only has 1 or 2 stats below 70 rated. 81 pace or 80 pace as well is very, very nice, and he'll be a very, very nice box to box centre mid for your starter team. Next up, boys, we are going for Naby Keita, who's similar to Ox. Obviously, they both play for Liverpool, and Keita actually feels brilliant on the ball. I absolutely love him on the ball. I believe he got a storyline, was it, I think FIFA 20, and he was just a little mini machine, wasn't he? I absolutely love this Keita card, boys. Cheap. He's got some okay pace about him, like 70 pace, 70-something pace. He's very, very well-rounded, but his dribbling is 100% his best attribute, and for that reason, he makes that cheap tier list. That's a cheap tier list, boys. Now we're going to move on to the good tier list. Now, we've actually got 4 players with a good tier list, and starting off with the not as great one. We'll go from, the players I don't think is as great to the better ones in this good category. The first one we are going to choose, boys, is going to be Saul for Chelsea, and he actually looks really well rounded. Once again, he's got no stats under 70 rated, or he might have 1 stat, but he looks a very, very well-rounded card. Although he got a -2 on his overall rating, going from 84 to 82, he is a very, very, very well-rounded card. He's got 70s all over the boards, he's nothing spectacular, but he is definitely better than, you know, the Ox and Keita from the cheap tier. So I feel like he does justify himself just in that good tier. Next up, boys, we are going to go for Lo Celso for Tottenham. Very similar to Saul, very, very well-rounded. He's got some pace about him as well. Although he did get a -1, his stats still look absolutely spectacular. Next up, boys, we have gone for Kovacic for Chelsea. Another Chelsea boy in here, and he actually looks really, really solid, boys. Very, very solid card. He's got the pace, he's got the defending, he's got the physical, his in-game dribbling as well is actually really good, and the good thing about him, his pace and agility and balance is really, really nice, lads. Really, really nice. So both 80 plus, and it will do the job more than well. Now, boys, last up to make the good tier list is going to be the man himself, Thomas Partey. Now, I know you know, looking at the card, he's only got 69 pace, but as I said, with the cheap ones like Gundogan and Thiago, I said if you don't have too much pace, then you really do want to counter that, and you want to have good physical and good strength. Now, Partey, and the reason he's in the good tier instead of the cheap tier is because he's going to be a versatile lad. You can play him CDM. Now, he's classed as a centre mid, and as I said, we're going to cover CDMs next. But once he's classed as a centre mid, we're going to count him in the centre mid video. But he can play centre mid, a defensive style centre mid. He can push up as well. His shooting of 71's not too bad. But the beautiful thing about him is he's a CDM. So let's say your attacking formation is a 4-3-1-2. You can play him as a CDM, and then if you want to, you know, sub a player off, you could sub a new centre mid on, and if you want to, move Partey down to a CDM. Basically, what I'm trying to say, depending on the chemistry style you do put on Thomas Partey, he can adjust to different positions. An engine will obviously get his balance up because his balance is really low. So an engine will get his balance up. You know, a pace, a passing, and a agility and balance boost will be very good for a centre mid. Or if you do want to play him as a defender, then you'll simply go for a shadow. You know, give that +10 pace, give that +10 or +15 strength as well. He's one of the versatile boys in the midfield, and that is the reason he does make this good tier. Now, boys, we have only got one elite centre mid in the midfield, and before you guys say Kevin De Bruyne is classed as a centre mid, I know, but what I did do is I did class him as a cam in my last video, so we're not going to count Kevin De Bruyne in this centre mid video, and instead, the only elite centre mid Premier League starter player is going to be Paul Pogba. Boys, he's got the 5-star skill moves, I believe he's 4-star weak foot as well, and the thing about him, he's always got this silky feel about him. Although his pace isn't insane, although his, you know, dribbling and balance isn't insane, he's always got this thing about him that just makes him really overpowered. Obviously, French centre mid, Premier League, Manchester United. He's going to get Bruno Fernandes links. He's going to get Cristiano Ronaldo links. And wait for it, he's going to get a hyperlink with Raphael Varane. Both France from Manchester United. And for that reason, that's going to add 150,000 coins onto him. So if I had to guess, he's probably going to be, at the beginning of the game, 300,000 coins plus easily. Let's just say that, obviously, when everyone's settled in after the 10 hours early access is over. So I feel like the only elite centre mid is Pogba. He's got everything. He's definitely a more attacking style centre mid because his defending isn't insane. He is definitely more, a centre mid that pushes forward, but you could chuck a shadow on him. Same thing with Partey. Chuck a shadow on him and play him CDM in game if you do want to switch it up a little bit. And even as well with Pogba, in real life, he's currently playing as like a left mid, if you will. He can play left mid in game as well. He's one of the players that can play basically anywhere. He is a very, very versatile lad himself. But the thing is about him, he's got the flair trait. I believe he's got he might have an outsider foot shot trait as well. And obviously he's got the 5-star skill moves. And that 5-star skill moves. And you know what? Something else that I think really, really does make him as good as he is his body type. Because he actually has good agility and balance considering he's 6'2" or 6'3". Usually 6'2" or 6'3" players like Thomas Partey have like 50 balance. But no, Paul Pogba actually has good agility, a good balance, he's very tall, and he's got 5-star skill moves. And I feel like he's just one of those lads that he could literally have 67, 68 pace, and I'll still be putting him in elite tier. It's because his body type and skill moves really does bail him out, if you get what I mean. Now, as I said, boys, we are obviously disregarding some Premier League centre mids that not much people would, be using. This is only like I've selected a good amount of centre mids that I think are the better ones, alright? Now, the centre mids that we have left out are, you know, worse than the ones in the cheap tier, like worse than Gundogan, Thiago. But if there is any ones that you want to leave down below and ask me, do you think this centre mid is good, I will reply and you know, say what tier I'd put them into, or say what I think. But obviously there's no point putting like 60 pace, 55 pace centre mids with horrific defending and dribbling and tanky centre mids in. Obviously CDMs is going to be a whole lot more players, as you've got like Basumas. You got a lot of CDMs this year, boys. So next episode is going to be a big one. There's actually not too much centre mids to go off of, but still, boys, this is my tier list. And if I had to, I say this every time, if I have to pick a centre mid from each tier, the cheap tier, I'm going to take either Oxlade-Chamberlain or Keita. From the good tier, I'm probably going to lean towards probably Lo Celso if you're looking for a more attacking-minded centre mid, or Thomas Partey if you're looking for a more defensive-minded centre mid. And obviously for the elite tier, it's a one-man himself, which is Paul Pogba. Hope you guys did enjoy this short little tier list on FIFA 22 Premier League centre mids. We're going to cover CDMs next. Hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And until next time, see you later, boys.